That's the tea. That's how much money I'm making.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Happy New Year's, happy 2020. What better way to introduce the new year than to talk about my job? I feel like I don't really see any other medical laboratory technologist, clinical laboratory scientist, whatever you call our beautiful job. I feel like I don't see any other ones on YouTube, and so that is why I am here, so that y'all know that we exist. But today I am going to talk to you guys a little bit more about my profession because I know y'all are curious. I'm going to be talking about some pros versus some cons of my job. Now, I graduated from university. I did a 4-year bachelor's program specialized in medical laboratory science at formerly known as University of Ontario. It's now OnTechU or some shit that I don't agree with. I graduated in June of 2018. I got hired before I even graduated, and then I started my job a week after I wrote my exam. Every single job has their pros and cons. I would also like to disclose that all of these opinions are my own. Obviously, I can't speak for every single MLT. And without further ado, this is the pros and cons of being a medical laboratory technologist. So the very first pro that at least I think is a pro, is the flexible schedule. Now, I do have my gripes with the schedule, but that is not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about the pro. A lot of these pros and cons I've actually been able to pick out and dissect because my boyfriend and I work contrasting schedules. So I am like always shift work, always whatever. He's constantly 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. The nice thing about a flexible schedule is that, for example, if I have to go to the doctor's, or I need to go to a massage appointment, or I need to go do something somewhere and that place is only open Monday to Friday from like 8 to 4. I sometimes have Tuesday, Wednesdays off. Sometimes I'll have a Thursday off in between. So it's easy for me to plan that kind of stuff. It is really convenient for me to say, oh, I'm off Monday, I'll come in Monday. Whereas for my boyfriend, for example, if he needs to go see a doctor, but his doctor is only open on Wednesdays from like 8 to 4, then he has to take the day off, or he has to come in late, or he has to come in early. Now, the con in that similar circumstance is that even though your schedule is flexible, you are expected to work off shifts, you're expected to work evenings, you're expected to work night shifts and weekends and holidays and stuff like that. So that is where it gets tough. Sometimes I could work 2 weekends in a row. I work basically at least every other weekend, and then maybe I'll work 2 weekends in a row or something like that. So realistically, because my boyfriend and I are kind of long distance, like we're not really, but if I'm working basically every other weekend or 2 weekends in a row, then realistically I see my boyfriend maybe about twice a month. The schedule kind of sucks in that way, and like part-timers are basically just there to pick up all the shifts, right? And I am actually really blessed to be working at a location where I work part-time, but I'm basically working almost full-time hours. Sometimes I'm working like 7-day stretches, and sometimes I'll get like 4 days off in a row, and sometimes I'm working like 8-day stretches. The next pro that I'd like to talk about is something that I breathe a sigh of relief to when I see my boyfriend, and I see my boyfriend's mom, and I see like my other friends that are working in the business industry. As an MLT, you typically don't take work home with you. You go there, you show up to the lab at the scheduled time, you put your lab coat on, you do your job, you do all of the patient stuff, you do the samples, you report your criticals, you do blah 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 XYZ, you wash your hands, put your lab coat away, and you go home. You go home, you kick up your feet, you relax. And if you have a difficult patient, for example, like if you have a patient investigation that you're doing in blood bank, for example, if they've got a bunch of different antibodies, if you've got to do a cold panel on them, if you've got to do like phenotyping or whatever, you do as much as you can, as much as you need to, as much as like, you know, is in your discretion to do on your shift. And then if it doesn't get done, you leave that work for the next tech to do. Ideally, you don't want to do that. You want to finish your work, but if you can't get it done, then you can't get it done. In some cases, you really can't get it done. So the next con actually kind of has to go off with that. A con to that is that you can't work from home, which I'm very envious of my boyfriend because some days he's just not feeling that hot. Okay, some days he feels like he's got a little itchy throat. He has a work laptop that he can, you know, sit at his desk at home in his jammies with a big bowl of cereal. He has the luxury to work from home, whereas for me, if I'm feeling a little bit like I got a scratchy throat, or if I'm not really feeling the best mentally, or if I'm like a little bit sick but not really that sick to call in sick, I gotta get my ass out of bed 4:30 in the morning, you know, and I still gotta get to work 10 minutes, 5 minutes before I'm supposed to start. Like, I can't just pull up the computer in my jammies and be like, let me send out some patient samples and like let me go analyze this poo-poo all the way from home in bed. Like, you can't do that. And that is a luxury that I wish I had, but unfortunately you can't do that in the lab. The next thing that I want to talk about is actually something that a lot of people ask me about, and it can get a little bit uncomfortable talking about because not everybody is comfortable talking about it or sharing that kind of information, but I'm gonna share it with you anyways because that's just the kind of channel that I have here. And I'm sorry if you guys are easily offended by talking about finances and talking about money, but you can just click over to the next point if you'd like. The next point that I'd like to make about my job is that generally, I'm not sure, I can't really speak for every area of the world. I can't speak for even different areas of Canada. All I can speak on is Ontario and where I work as an MLT in a unionized hospital. As an MLT in a unionized hospital, the pay is good. It's not like I'm a billionaire over here. I'm not even a millionaire, honey. I ain't even like on the sunshine list, okay? But starting off where I am, I'm a junior technologist, and I don't like to compare myself to other people. This is not what that's about. I am going to share with you the monetary value of when I started, and hopefully it will help you guys gauge whether or not this is enough monetarily for you. I'm going to Google right now what is the average entry-level wage, and then I'll compare it to mine. This was a really quick Google search. I don't know how accurate this is, so please forgive me. So the average per hour salary in Canada is $18 per hour. It also says here the average good salary in Canada is $39,000 per year or $20 an hour. So with that information, I don't know how accurate that is, but like, let's just say that that is accurate to 2019, 2020. When I first started as a registered medical laboratory technologist, that's after I wrote my exam and I passed my exam and I was officially registered, I started at $31.32. So $31.32 per hour. That is, I think personally, that was a lot more than what I had thought. I thought I was maybe starting at 28, 27. Obviously, I'm not here making millions. I'm not even here making hundreds of thousands yet, okay? Well, how old was I when I started? 22? So as a 22-year-old making $32 an hour, and then on top of that, this is another part to the pay is good thing, you have your evening premiums, so you get a certain sum of money on top of your hourly wage for working evenings, and then you get weekend premiums, and then you get night shift premium. So imagine if you're, and holidays, so you get holiday premium as well. So that's what I'm saying when I mean like the pay is good, and I don't think that should come as a surprise to a lot of people, especially knowing that you're going into the medical field. Like, obviously, unless you're going to be a doctor, you're not going to be balling in them riches, but it does make saving a lot easier, and I definitely live my life a lot more comfortably than if I were to not be making the amount of money that I make. Now, since then, I have obviously gotten a raise because I have been a tech for about 1.5 years now. Generally, I'm not sure, again, how it is in all of Canada or even all of wherever that's not Ontario, that's not unionized, but in Ontario, for my union, you generally get another pay increase after every year that you work. And I say year in quotations because I am part-time, and the year is counted as 40 hours per week for one whole year, and that's as a full-timer. So you have to work full-time hours or like the equivalent to how many hours that is. I don't really know how much that is before you get your next raise. So I am making a little bit more than what I was last year, and that's gonna go up in increments every year until it caps off, which I'm not entirely sure. It does eventually cap off, obviously, but that is generally how much I make. And that is like the hot burning question of 2018 and 19 that all of y'all has been in my DMs about, which I'm like a little bit concerned because like, why are you asking random strangers on the internet how much they make? Going on to actually finances, because here we are again talking about money. Now, again, I gotta say this every single time. This is not, you know, this is just like a general thing that I think is prevalent a lot. Not necessarily in my hospital specifically, in your hospital specifically. It's just like a general fact that I think politics has a big thing to play in. And the con that I'm trying to make aware is that healthcare, I think, is actually a little bit underfunded, to say it in the nice ways. I don't want no smoke, okay? Like, I'm not trying to put anybody on blast, but I think that healthcare could be funded a little bit better. So I'm gonna just leave that con where it's at. I'm not gonna elaborate too much on it. If you ever end up working in a hospital, or if you know somebody that works in the hospital, go ahead and ask, you know, someone else. I work in a good hospital, I think, at least in my opinion. And I'm just saying, don't be expecting bonuses and stuff. Like, my boyfriend gets bonuses every year and like whatever. Yeah, we don't get those at the hospital. I mean, unless you work in admin. And then, yeah, maybe your lab could use some new instruments, some new equipment. Maybe y'all could use, you know, some new floors and some new cabinets, but unlikely unless you've got a lot of good donations and stuff like that. Anyways, next. This video was like really long. It's already half an hour. Oh no. Okay, the next pros, I'm just gonna go pew 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 pew, like just gonna go real quick. The next pro that I like, personally, I really like, is that I like to help patients, and I get to help patients and I get to save people's lives, all the while I ain't gotta deal with them. Because I feel like I've said this before in a past video, but I am a very empathetic person, and I find it really hard to see people struggling. Like, I am the type of person where if I see you in pain, you're distraught, you are upset, I will cry with you. And that is not the kind of medical professional that you need. And I'll be like, I'm so sorry that you're dealing with this. I'm so sorry your life is like this. I'm so sorry. You know? One time I had to do phlebotomy on a patient who was having a procedure done, and this person was not okay. Like, this person was not good. And it kind of really broke my heart. I wanted to cry when the patient was crying, and like, obviously I did not. And I'm sure it's hard for all of the medical professionals that have to do that, but I just... The next con is that it is hard to move up in your job. And what I mean by that is that you will get like small increases, like I said, like you'll get pay increases every 1 year. If I contrast this with my job versus my boyfriend's job, he got a good bonus and he got a good increase onto his salary because his bosses or whatever, his managers, could see that he was putting in the work. In my job as an MLT, you could work as hard or you could not work as hard as the next person, but you won't be getting no special bonus, you won't be getting no pay increase other than, you know, the standard, because we are unionized. But also, you can't really go up. You can be a charge technologist. I'm not really sure in detail what the charge technologists do. They do a lot though, which is like why you would get paid more, because you are the charge of your department. I do the same things that my coworker who's been there for 30 plus years does. We do the same thing. They obviously get paid a lot more than I do because they've been there for 30 years. But if you look at our job qualifications, I am just as qualified as that person, and that person is just as qualified as I am to do the same job. So I know in like businesses and other jobs, if my boyfriend is doing the same job as a team member, but he does a better job, or vice versa, maybe one person will make more than the other even though they're doing the same job, because it's kind of like based on your work and like other stuff like that. I'm not really sure. But a pro to that though is that the world of healthcare is ever changing. I thought that I would get bored of my job pretty quick because I'm like, yeah, I know how to do this, I know how to do that. Girl, there are new things to see every single day, and my coworkers that have been there for like 35 years say the same thing. They learn something new every damn day. There's always new things that you see, there's always new cases, there's just so many new things. So the constant growth, I think, is what really makes this profession just amazing to me. Like, I never feel stagnant. Sometimes it's a lot of work, sometimes it's really hard to handle, and if you're not good with stress, then like, you know, maybe this is not necessarily the best profession for you, or maybe you just don't work in a hospital. But I think that it's so wonderful to be working in a profession that never gets dull. The next con that I want to talk about has to do with shift work. This one is having difficulties adjusting to your schedule, and what I mean by that is, like, let me paint out a picture for you in like in the easiest way I can. I'm gonna use this example that I just went through because I'm struggling with it right now. I've been a tech for a while now, and it's still hard for me to adjust. For the past 4 days, today's my only day off. For the past 4 days, I have worked evening shifts. So that's 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. Keep in mind that when I work those shifts, I don't get to sleep until earliest probably midnight to 12:30, but like realistically around 1 a.m. is when I'll, you know, fall asleep, and then I'll wake up around 10, no, not even 10, like 8 to 10. So I get 1 day off, which is today. Last night I went to bed around 1 a.m. Woke up today at 8 a.m. and then today I have to be asleep by 9 p.m. to wake up at 5 for my 7 a.m. shift tomorrow. Do you follow? Because I feel like me saying that out loud was a little difficult. To be able to switch your schedule like that is just so difficult sometimes. I am almost done. I have one more pro to talk about. I did mention before that I am a part-timer, but it is nice for me because I actually get paid more as a part-timer than a full-timer would that is making my wage, and I'll tell you why. I don't get benefits, and because I don't get benefits, I get paid in lieu. If I needed glasses but I don't have benefits, then technically my in lieu is supposed to cover for my benefits. So if I make, let's just say, $100 in lieu, and I get that every single paycheck, technically if I needed new glasses, the $100 every single paycheck that I've been making in lieu is supposed to cover for those glasses. That's how in lieu works. The amount of money from my in lieu is supposed to be able to cover any of those things that you need, you know, that you would typically be covered by your benefits. I also get in lieu for vacation because I don't get paid vacation, which I wish I did, but I do not. So it's like an extra amount of money onto my paycheck. So I get paid in lieu for my benefits, I get paid in lieu for my vacation, and that sum of money is added on top of each paycheck that I get. If you do the math and everything, I am taking home more money than I would if I was full-time. If I was full-time, I wouldn't get paid the money for the benefits in lieu. I wouldn't get paid the money for the in lieu for vacation because I'd get paid vacation and I'd get benefits. So I'm sorry if that was a little bit complicated to understand, and I don't really know how it works at any other place. And the last con that I want to talk about, I hate to end it with a con. The last con, I'm going to kind of mash up 2 points. In retrospect to my last point, it is a little bit difficult to get a full-time job. I imagine it's a lot easier to get a full-time job in private labs and stuff, but in hospitals in general, it is harder to find a full-time job because it's cheaper to pay a part-timer, you know, and it's cheaper to not have to give benefits to your employees. Like I said, healthcare has a lot of cuts to it, and healthcare is a little underfunded, and so that means that there's not as many full-time positions as sometimes we would like for them to be. Getting a full-time position right out of school, right off the bat, is a little difficult. Like I said, I do basically work full-time hours, but still I think the stability of the schedule is a lot nicer when you're a full-timer, because as a part-timer, technically they don't really have to schedule me as many hours as they are. They could schedule me like 2 shifts a week or 2 shifts every pay period, which is every 2 weeks. And I can't live off of that. And so that next point is the other con, is that sometimes, like, some of my friends have to get 2 jobs, like 2 part-time jobs because they can't supplement over just one job. Sometimes one job will only give them 2 shifts per week, which if you buy a new car, you're paying insurance, you have phone bills, gym bills, you have a house, you're paying rent. That's not enough. But that is not just with my MLT career. It is with anywhere that's healthcare, anywhere that's like part-time jobs, anywhere. Like, it's not just subjective to the laboratory or healthcare in general. I hope that you guys enjoyed this long informational video. I love talking about my career, but I feel like there's really not that much for me to share with you guys. I know a lot of you guys have been asking me to show you my laboratory and give you a tour and a day of my life at work. I'm gonna tell you right now, I can't do that for like legality reasons, privacy reasons. I also have coworkers that would probably be a little bit uncomfortable being on camera, and also I don't really want anybody else to know where I work. I feel like that's kind of a little too private to put on the internet, as much as I would love for you guys to see that, but unfortunately I just can't foresee that. You know, like, it's not just like, no, I don't want to. It's like, yeah, I really don't think I can. So with that being said, I hope you guys had a wonderful holidays. I hope you guys had a wonderful New Year's. Happy New Year's. Happy New Year to the new decade. Anyways, thank you guys so much for sticking around for another year. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to sound off in the comments below. I will try to reply to as many comments as I can. And until my next video, guys, I will see you next time. Bye! Ooh, also don't forget to check out my Instagram. I do have an Instagram page. It's just @thatlinguistic. I would love for you guys to stop by. I do talk about my laboratory stuff every now and then. When I'm on my off shifts, I like to take pictures of cells that I think are really interesting, and I'll post them for you guys to see and stuff like that. So I do post lab related stuff sometimes. So do go check me out over there if you would like to. Anyways, okay, for sure, I'm leaving now. I'm going. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!
Natural disasters, my baby has been